I like to celebrate my own, amen, and show them much love, amen, if I can. All right. Um, I am doing something right now, and I'm going to be doing a course of this within um, my seminary. It's going to be called Reality Leadership. It's going to be something I'm going to be doing, um, and it's called Reality Leadership. And in reality leadership is going to focus on some of the most difficult challenges that any leader face. It's just going to just be one like little special class I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about the influence and change, the resolving conflicts, developing leaders, and leaders that make tough calls. Um, um, I think we should deal with some reality issues because a lot of times we live in a bubble and act as if some things does not exist. Um, and when I do this, I'm going to invite certain people to the table because everybody, if you don't have a outside mind to think on the other side of the box, you're not going to be successful even in a course like this or just having a conversation. Um, and because I'm an idealistic thinker, not a realistic one, I had to take a look at some things and some of my misconceptions and the realities that I even face as a leader. Give you an example. One misconception is that I can help everybody. That's a big misconception that I have because the reality of me thinking that I can help everybody is that there's going to be some conflict with somebody. Did y'all hear what I just said? Let me say it to y'all again. One of my misconceptions is thinking that I can help everybody. But the reality is, no matter how much I want to help everybody, we're going to always have some conflict somewhere. I want to say to every leader that's listening to me this morning that you can't help everybody. And if you're not careful, you helping everybody is going to turn into a handicap for somebody. You being there for everybody, you're gonna come into a conflict because one day you're gonna look up and everything you did for somebody, you're gonna see that they didn't do that for you. You got to be very careful. I'm very careful in even things that I even say. Even on Saturday, I had made a post, and I don't like things to be misconceived or perceived wrong. So I like in all that getting understandings. If I have a conversation with somebody, I have to be very careful that I don't say the wrong thing because a lot of times in relationships that I have to walk on eggshells with people. I realize that people have totally disconnected. I realize that they have gone on. They just ain't notified me. I'm going to help them in the next 9 days. I realize that my process have been shared with other people who have nothing to do with it to water me down. But I'm the dad. I'm their friend, quote unquote best friend. But the kiss is a sign to let you know what's really truth and what's really not. And I had to realize that I can't help everybody. Sometimes as leaders, you can't help everybody. And sometimes helping everybody is really the demise of the destruction of the relationship that you really have. You have to learn how to sometimes let people fly on their own and learn how to let them be the eagle to spread their wings. Yesterday, Apostle Tatum sent me this video, and I kind of laughed at it because he knows my spirit. And when he sent me the video, I said, "Man, Doc, I seen this." And man, when I tell you, when I tell you that it's like straight in, I'm telling this video is, man, it's so raw and uncut. Those of you that are too stinky saved, you couldn't even watch this video. You couldn't even watch it because the dude just went straight in. He went straight in. And some of us right now, we have a lot of misconceptions and we have to learn how to deal with them. Let me give you another misconceptions. People like change if it's done properly. The reality to that is people resist change regardless. Everybody can't go with the flow. And hear me very carefully. Everybody can't go with the flow. And watch this here. If they're not part of it, they'll kick against it. Sometimes you got to know your place and what it is that you do. And when you know your place, you'll always have a place. And just because you may not be in this sector does not mean that you can't work in that sector. You have to know exactly what it is that you are called to do and understand that some of your misconceptions are being confused with your own reality. All right. Now, I'm just giving you a few of mine, and then that way that we can have a good conversation. Is it enough for the leader to take care of all the people? Okay, that is a misconception. But the truth of the matter is, in reality, is people must be developed to be effective. Some of you right now that are listening to me, you're going to have to learn how to be developed in order if you're going to really be effective in 2018. My last one for one of my misconceptions is good leadership make tough calls unnecessary. All right. All right, good leadership makes tough calls unnecessary. Now watch this here. The reality is tough calls must always be made. There's going to be some wins and some losses. There are going to be some things you're going to agree with, some things you're not going to agree with. There are some things that's going to have a cause as well as they have an effect. You're going to have some things where everybody's not going to like everything that you say. And when you are a good leader, watch this here, everybody is not going to like every decision that you make. Amen. You can't have yes people. You can't have yes people around you. You can't have people around you who always agree. Sometimes you're going to have some conversation where there is some disagreements. Well, watch this. It's how you handle the disagreement to show if you're really walking in the maturity of where you should be. And early on, and even still now in my leadership, I went way out of my way to help people. And watch this here. I went way out of my way also to avoid a lot of realistic thinking because I thought that it would interfere with my creativity. But watch this here. What helped me in my creativity is to see the challenges of some of the things that I had to face. And as the more I continue to grow, the more I come into the fact of realistic thinking adds value to my actual life. The reality, watch this here, reality is really the difference between what we wish and what is. Can you write that down, please? Reality is the difference between what we wish and what is. Now watch this here, and y'all know I'm very transparent. I learned that truth very slowly. I learned it lesson by lesson. I remember 29 years ago, and it's just like yesterday, when I first started ministry, I discovered no matter how hard I worked, hear me, no matter what I did, I could not please everybody. My first year pastoring, collectively, I pastored, 04, I pastored 15 years, one spot. You follow what I'm saying? A total of like 18 years of pastoring. A total of 18 years pastoring. Amen. But like 19 years of evangelistic, of helping other churches. Okay? Stay with me. I realized that, and especially when I got into the seat of pastoring, a lot of the lessons that I learned from helping church and trying to help, I thought I could do that from my teaching mechanism, and it did not work. And I realized that I can't help everybody. I realized everybody don't feel me. I realized everybody don't get with me. I realized that there can be women in ministry that are really men bashers and men haters, but they always want a man. But theoretically, when the man has to do something, you don't want to receive from him. There's people that don't receive. And hey, that's cool. That's your prerogative. Sometimes I could teach, you won't take a note. Amen. Somebody else teach, you got a whole bunch of paper out. It just depends upon the individual. And I just realized instead of me trying to help everybody, I realized I could not help everybody. There's some people I still can't help. There's people that sit up under my watch that still don't receive from me. There are people that walk with me that still are following other people. So I understand that some people are nomads. They jump around, they bounce around everywhere. There are some people trying to find the next big thing that can help them. I realize that there's some people who have a lot of negative ideologies of me. People even close to me. There are people who don't even want to see me have even certain things. I had to come to truth with that. And yes, still have to love them. Still have to learn how to pray for them. Yes, still cover them. Amen. And I realize that other people cover them, but until they tell me that I don't, I still have to assume the responsibility. And I had to come into a truth to realize that when the dynamics of relationships change, you you go with the dynamic and let it be. And you let it be what it is, and you let it move on the way it needs to move on. And I realized that when a cord is cut, that I let the cord be cut, and I let it be cut for the time called forever. I have a spirit of reconciliation, but I also have a spirit to understand that I will no longer be a fool for people. I had to learn that. And I learned that when I made that discovery, I had to learn how to have a vote with myself, and the vote was unanimous, that the vote was this: I no longer need the approval of people. You either going to be all in for me, or you will have none of me. I will no longer even give you the spear of what you asked for. If you don't fully love the leader that you serve, you don't need to have no connectivity to the leader. We don't need to hide. We don't need to camouflage. We need to be honest. And there's a whole lot of apostles and bishops and pastors that's watching, and they watch every day. And one of the things is, the worst thing that hurts us more than anything is to walk with people who we know are killing us. Loving you is hurting us. Helping you is destroying us. Covering for you has annihilated us. And sometimes the only thing we ask for is honesty, integrity, and walking your truth. And one by one, watch this here, my misconceptions had to learn how to fall off. And I was one who would go to bat when everyone said, you better watch this person, you better watch that person. And then I did it, and then I hate that I told you so. Is there anybody listening to me? Amen. So I had to learn how to grow in some realistic thinking. And I have to learn how to always expect the unexpected. My problem as a leader was I always give everybody the ultimate benefit of the doubt. Amen. And that's why you should have good people around you that know how to pray you through some things. Are y'all listening to me? So I had to learn that in my natural optimism, hear me, it had to help me in my natural optimism to expect the unexpected. As much as you talk about you love me, you also need to realize the damnation they can do to you. You also got to say, okay, if they know your secrets, they're going to expose you. And trust me, just because you have not heard it, don't mean it has not been said. You might want to write that down. I'm telling you now, you got to ask yourself all the time in anything you do in ministry, what is your worst case scenario? Please write that down. You should ask yourself, what is your worst case scenario? If you're going to work an organization, you have to say, what is your worst case scenario? And when you are building it, you should be able to say, what is my realistic thinking? Let me give you a couple of them real quick. Realistic thinking minimizes downside risk. Can you write that down, please? Realistic thinking minimizes downside risk. Actions always have consequences, if I can use that quote. Actions always have some consequences, and realistic thinking helps you to determine what those consequences will be. All right, you got to have a plan in place. And although this is very crucial in what I'm saying to you, you must begin to recognize and consider the actual consequences, and you need to plan for them. Remember, I just said 3 minutes ago, what is your worst case scenario? You have to say to yourself that, hear me, if you are able to really have realistic thinking, it will minimize your downside risk. Realistic thinking, number 2, will give you a target and actually a game plan. All right. Being a businessman outside of ministry, because that's my secular side, I've had to realize that a lot of business people are not realistic thinkers. The good news is that you can be very positive and you sit in a high place, but the bad news is that if you don't have a strategy, your business is going to fail. Realistic thinking leads to excellence in leadership and in management. Let me tell you why. Because it requires people to face reality. You got to face the reality. You got to define, you got to define the target and develop a game plan. Now, let me show you the difference between maturity and immaturity. Just because you see things out of your eyes does not mean that you're looking at it through the right lens. I think y'all missed that. Some of us right now, we think our opinion is the only one that matters. We think that we're the only one that can see things a certain way. So when you go on your rants, go on your crying, going on your soapbox about what you think and what you see, and you can only look at it from one perspective, I'm learning in this season, we'll look through it through your perspective, because hearing me, you're not going to hear me. And the truth of the matter is that if I tell you how I feel, you'll say that I'm wrong. And I have this quote. I have this quote. What makes what you do so right, but what I do is so wrong? So you can judge me and you're right, but I judge you, I'm wrong. And the problem that I have with realistic thinking is when you have a target, you have no other agenda but to destroy and catastrophically annihilate the one who you think have hurt you or the one that has done something to you. You must be very careful of that, because the truth of the matter is, in business, let men be men. See, I'm going to be honest with you. When people fall out with me, they fall out about what they should do for me or what should be done for me. Okay, let's say it that way. So a lot of people, hear me, they love what I do for them. They love that I'll come and give thousands of dollars to them, or the crew will come and sow all into them, but they won't sow anything into me. And I